A bar is only as good as the team behind it. You can have the best concept in the world, but if your staff isn't engaged, trained, or inspired, it all falls apart. Welcome. This is Bar Manager's Notebook. Hi, I'm Lorenzo Rocci, and welcome back to Episode 3. Today we're getting into what I think is one of the most important parts of bar management: building and keeping a killer team. We're going to talk about green flag and red flag during an interview process. We're going to talk about training, onboarding of your staff. And then we're going to talk about culture, how to build your team, how to protect it. Let's dive in together. Hiring is your first domino. Get it wrong and you will spend most of your time putting out fires. Get it right and you'll make most likely your life easier. What is important also to know when you're approaching an interview is that if you're into a corporate world versus an independent, the hiring process might be different. As an independent, you're able to space questions left and right, constantly changing them, even for the same position for different interviewer. But instead, into a corporate world, most likely you will have a set of questions you can ask to give you scenarios to the interviewers and get the information. You're going to write them down, you can rate them. What is important today is to ensure fairness to all the applicants. Now, regardless from the two processes, without getting too much into it, what is important here is keep yourself a second to ask some of the questions you really want to know for the position the person is interviewing for. And now let's see red flags and green flags. Well, number one, lack of punctuality or professionalism during your interview. We all do understand you will be driving or using the public transport, but if you are showing up 5, 10, 15 minutes late, it's definitely going to be seen as a red flag. If you want to mitigate that because you're going to see that you might be late during your route, then call, text your recruiter, let them know you will be late for a few minutes. A good advice is also to show up generally like 5 to 15 minutes maximum early to your appointment. It's definitely seen as a nice gesture and respectful towards who is going to interview you. Next up, I would say definitely talking trash about your previous employee. That happened multiple times to me that people I've interviewed start telling me all the problems that they have with previous management or with the previous company. And sometimes I'm like, I have no idea what is happening because I don't have the reality is I don't have proof. Unless I call your previous employee, I don't have any reference and I don't know if it's true or not. I would definitely encourage you to avoid it. It's a red flag all around. Another one is like when you talk about scenario with your recruiter or with the manager, it's when you start blaming on everyone else but yourself, that all the things that happen to you, it's the result of someone else's fault. That definitely doesn't help. And lastly, I would say design, to keep it obviously concise to at least 4 or 5 points, is the fact that people show up to interview just because they seem that they want a job. They're not. If you show up to a job interview just because you need to fill up like few hours, definitely a red flag. Because what we look for is someone that even if you have like 10 hours or 20 hours or 30 hours to give to this job, is that you will try to do the best you can for it. If you instead just go there and just want a job rather than an opportunity to learn and grow yourself, not only as a position, then it's definitely going to be seen as a red flag. First great green flag, asking about your bar and about your team. What a great question. It allows me and us as a manager to tell you a little bit more of what we've been working on as a team, as a individual position, according which position you're applying for, where are we going, how do I plan to get there, and get you excited as well. And for you, it's important to know because it might also tell you if it's a project you want to get involved with or not. Which will bring me to the next point, the next great green flag. It's when we have people that shows a genuine interest on our menu, on the design, they ask questions about the serving style or the philosophy behind the bar. Now, another great question that allow us to talk a little bit more about what we've been doing and allows you to choose if it's a project that you want to get involved with. Third, it's another great point is when you bring your stories and you tell us the story of how you made lasting, impactful relationship with your guest and you made people feel special. I love personally to hear those. It's a bit easier sometimes into a corporate world because through the questionnaire, some of those stories might come up a little bit different into an individual restaurant or bar, independent restaurant or bar where those questions have to be asked or you have to bring it yourself. But regardless, I would say bring it on. The more stories, the better. I love to hear them, and I'm sure so many colleagues of mine do love that too, because it tells us the passion that you have behind the art of making just drinks or like the passion that you have for drinks. So we really love to hear those stories. So bring them on. And for you as a manager, I want to remind you something. You're hiring for attitude first and then for skills second, which bring me to the next point, which is like, who are we looking for? After evaluating the green flag and the red flag, knowing what's could be right or wrong, we need to also focus on exactly who are we looking for. And as I said just a moment ago, we are hiring for attitude first and skills second. And this is because skills, we can teach them. Attitude, it's way harder. And then another important point, we hire for work ethics. We want people that take pride on what they do. We want them to be happy and proud of the product we're delivering every day. Another one is like team mentality. Completely opposite of what I told you from the red flag. In this case, we're hiring for people that love to lift people up and not pushing people down. Lastly, we want people that love hospitality. When people genuinely love hospitality, you will see it. And that one is someone who really have the love for the craft. And that's who we look for. When hiring someone new, most of the bars skip their real training and then wonder, how come it didn't work out? Well, a good onboarding plan will help you set the right expectation and at the same time build the confidence into your new associate. With that said, I'll also give you 3 keys to success to create a very good onboarding. First, as I said, give them clear expectation. After 5 days, you will be able to open or close this bar almost without checklist. After 10, we expect you to be able to deliver the entire menu without even looking at recipe. Things like that. But this is to give them a frame of what's your expectation so that they can put the effort towards it. 2, give them a mentor. Allocate a person who will be able to reply any question to them at any point besides yourself. And 3, make sure you write a program that is written down on paper. Give it to them so that they're able to check it. And let me show you something I've done. As always, it's gonna come up here on the screen. So this is a program I've made during the year, and I changing constantly according to the place I work in, the people I have to train, and so on and so forth. But it's to go basically like step by step what we need to see from the new associate, what we need to teach them, and what they need to learn in order to deliver it to our guest. And this is, let's say, for us the standard. Let's go through fairly quickly. Let's say SOPs of the bar, form standards if your venue's forms or not, obviously opening, closing procedure, mid, you're gonna have like, the house cocktail recipes, the one that you implement through your property, the one of the outlet, and so on and so forth. You can see, you can basically go, you have the classic, and obviously test and role play as well. And this gives an understanding and a clear expectation of what we want to see from the associate into a specific time frame. In our case, it's about 15 days. Now, I need to also make a small difference here. In Europe, you get hired and you're under a contract. I'm gonna spare you some of the details, but the key is you don't have a tip pool like in the US, which means you make money the moment you start working into the property. You make money and you make your salary regardless, right? The key is in Europe, you want to make sure you have a good training plan structure so that you have, let's say you give yourself a good time and you want to bring this associate as soon as possible up to par with all the rest of the staff. In the US, you have a little extra complication, which is also the tip pool. To do, let's say, training, you can do 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20 days, whatever you want. And sometimes when you do a training, you have this person under a training code or a different fee. Let's say you're not into maybe a tip pool or you're not currently getting tips, which affect people massively. So you need to figure out your way, your structure in this sense to make sure that you don't affect also the livelihood of people. So you need to be reasonable also with your training plan, and it has to be also ongoing. So let me tell you how things can be structured. You need to create, let's say, in my case, I give 7 days of core. So my core is, let's say, my first 2-3 days, they are based on our cocktails, house cocktails, and then it's gonna be our standard operating procedures. We're gonna have the Forbes, safety and core responsibility for you, and it's gonna be drilled for 3 days, and then you try to expand from there for the next 3 days in order that at the end of the week you have a person that knows your core, you know your standard, knows your opening and closing procedure, knows your cocktails, and potentially you're able to pull them out of the training to pull them into the tip pool. You have to continue this training for another 7 days, for example, and you're gonna go on with like some shadowing the shift. You can check on them. You ask someone to be paired up to check if how they're going, and then you have to quiz them. You make some training extra for them. You sit down, you do a one-on-one, and then you spend the second, third week to make sure that all those information have been completely, fully imbibed by the person that knows now the entirety of like the operation and the property and the drinks and the classics and all those kind of things, so that you arrive at the fourth week that you know that after 30 days you have fully trained a person and you feel confident as a manager that now this person is up to par, and also for your colleague that they now have an extra asset and resource that will help them at the same speed where they're going. Culture isn't a poster on the wall. It's what you do every day. And if you don't shape it intentionally, it will shape by itself, and most likely not in a good way. So to build a positive culture, you must model it yourself. Your staff will mirror your energy and your behavior. Give and receive feedback. Don't wait 365 days for the annual review. Keep that communication always open. Be fair, consistent, and transparent. Favoritism will break that trust. Celebrate win, big, small, doesn't matter, because the recognition will build the morale. To protect your culture, address even the small things, because if you let them slide, then they will send the wrong message. Maintain your standards even when you're busy. And keep, as I said before, your communication open. You want those doors to be open. You want people to be able to come to you if they want to talk to you. Remember, a healthy culture is retaining good people and most likely will attract even more to you. Leadership versus management. When to do what? The differences are subtle, but they're vital. Managing is about Organizational skills, systems, schedules is basically getting the job done. Leadership is about inspiring people, it's about coaching, it's about setting the tone, it's helping people get the best out of them. So let's see when we need to manage. We manage when there is a busy service and we need precision and speed. We need managing when we need to set expectations and enforce standards. Instead, we need leadership when we are talking with someone in order to make them grow, when we lead them towards their growth. When the morale is low or there's a conflict in action and we need to use the leadership skill. When communicating vision and the goal to people, this is when we need the leadership. Great bar managers do both, and they know when to do them, how to do it, and the moment when to put that in action. So remember, hire for attitude, train with intention, build a strong culture, and balance managing with leadership. If this episode helped you, then hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and most importantly, drop me a comment below and let me know what challenges you faced building your team. Don't miss the next episode. I'll see you there.